Hello and welcome to our Friday edition of our Corn-Fed Live show. We originally planned to do this in the morning, but on further thought, we realized that not many of our audience, college students, Husker sports fans, probably going to be up on Friday mornings. And there's always a lot going on the weekends, especially building towards the fall. So we're going to be doing a Friday afternoon show. So the schedule is going to be 10 a.m. Monday through Thursday, our normal Corn-Fed Sports in the morning, and then we're going to do a special Corn-Fed Live show here every Friday afternoon. So it just so happened that this time we got to wait and hear the exciting news from the world of Husker football recruiting. So we'll get to that in our second segment. So the timing of our Friday afternoon show worked perfect. But for now, we'll jump into some headlines, and we'll start with last night's Nebraska women's basketball action. On the road in Columbus, Ohio, the Huskers were able to use a hot shooting first half, and they beat Ohio State 62-53. Jordan Hooper had 28 points, but it was a balanced effort. Nebraska had 3 scores in double figures, and they actually were able to pull off after beating them Senior Day, Big Ten last year. They now beat them on the Ohio State's home court. So Nebraska not only has the 3 straight wins against Ohio State, but they've done it at home, at a neutral site, and on the road. So
anytime you're going to get 28 points from Jordan Hooper and you get 3 scores above 10 points, we say that about the men's team too. If you get 1 score that goes off and get 3, above 10, it's a good way to win a game.
Definitely, and you could see that at times they they came out shooting strong. Didn't necessarily find a rhythm early on, but they did what they needed to do. They locked up on defense as much as they could. And the impressive thing here is last year, I'm not exactly sure how many games it was, but Nebraska ended a big tournament run in the Big Ten tournament for Ohio State.
Right.
So Ohio State's dominated this league, and they have a lot of talent that, we've taken some talent from that area. We have Rachel Terrio, a freshman from the Ohio area. And so this impacts, that this is the impact you're seeing when you're able to go and contest these teams.
Yeah.
You beat Ohio State at home, done the trifecta with them. So I think it's a big win for the program, big win for Nebraska building confidence as they look to make
finish strong going into the
Definitely.
Big Ten.
We don't have it on the graphic there, but Nebraska's got a game at home this Sunday. It's their Pack the House day, so we'll get into some more headlines here. They're looking forward to some other games. Also to the Vandy Center this weekend, the Nebraska men's action, or the Nebraska men will be looking to continue success, get back to success, but continue the Huskers' success, certainly, against Ohio State.
Yes.
So the women got the job done Thursday night. The men will have a rematch, this time in Lincoln. This time they're a little bit more adapted to the Big Ten play, so it's not...
We have a couple guys that are starting they're
Siobhan and
mixed
up the rotations,
and
not just full health, getting back to some confidence.
Right.
Ray Gallegos had his career high 30 points.
He's had a good couple of last 2 games. Let's see if he can continue that. He's been very streaky this season, but I think as long as he goes off, as we'll talk in the third segment, if he gets going, we're gonna be tough to beat.
Definitely. So we'll come back to some more men's basketball breakdown. We have a breakdown session for our third segment today. So we'll talk more Husker women, more Husker men, and a little
my
bit
favorite
of
part of the day.
And a little bit of Nebraska wrestling as well. So we'll get back to that more. But from now, we'll jump right into to some more Olympic type sports action with the Nebraska swim team. They're going to be on the road this weekend. They're going to be heading to Evanston, Illinois. They've already wrapped up their final home schedule. They're looking to set a school record, which is why we've moved them up here in the prominence. They've had a big year. They made their way into the rankings at one point. They've been up there with some, they had a San Diego State team that's, in an area like San Diego State, the swimming and dive program, a little more established. That's where for holiday training, and they put up a strong showing on Senior Day against San Diego State. Won some races, had an exciting end to their first the medley relay that they had. So there have been some big momentum builders for the program already this year. So the Huskers will look to set that bar with another win. They'll set a season program for wins in a year. Or a program record for wins in a year. Sorry, that's a little word jumble there.
Just need a single win.
They're just trying to move on to that next one. So we'll keep you updated on that next week with our Corn-Fed Sports in the morning. But for now, we'll move on to the other action that's happening this weekend away from Lincoln, and that's the Nebraska bowling team. They're coming off a tournament win. They're going to be at the Prairie A&M Invite in Arlington, Texas this weekend. So another atmosphere with a bunch of prominent national teams.
It should be exciting to see how they compete. Basically, every tournament the bowling team goes to, they are going to face the tougher teams like a Valparaiso or Vanderbilt or Central Missouri. This tournament is actually in a newly built, it's called the National Technology Research Center, and that's where Team USA and the Junior Team USA actually compete at. And we have Elise Bolton from our team. She's a sophomore. She is on Junior Team USA. So we kind of know where this tournament is, and we'll actually be going to the same facility next week. The bowling team will be going next week.
So trying to find a rhythm.
Yes.
Nebraska bowling team, perennial contenders for national titles, for making moves in the national tournament. So this is another step in the process. So we'll keep you updated on how that goes this weekend. Mm-hmm. All right, now we'll move into some action of things that are going on in Lincoln this weekend. And we'll start with the Nebraska men's tennis team. On Friday, the Huskers take on Illinois State, and they'll wrap up the weekend with a matchup with Oklahoma State. Both of them at the Nebraska Tennis Center and getting into Lincoln for a little action.
Yep, this will be trying to get our first win of the season
the first win of the season, no better place to do it here.
Yes.
They had some duels, they had some tournament-type situations in the fall and showed strong. They've only lost one, so it's not like they've been strong. They're 0-1 on the year.
Yeah, it's a new start.
It's the new start to the season, so not just looking to get the first win, saying they've been strong, but they're looking to start the season on a strong note.
Right.
The women's tennis program's been kicking it up. The men's tennis program last year wasn't quite on the same level, but they still made strides as far as the program goes. They're starting another season trying to get in the grind of things.
Right.
All right, and we'll wrap up our headline segment here with the women's tennis. Or no, we already did that. Well, that wraps up our headline segment. Sorry there, we had things click a little out of order there. We're still getting used to some of these things. That's why we're working out these programs. So that wraps up our headline segment. We'll come back more with some Nebraska recruiting news and some football analysts.
Yep.
And I'll take care of that in round 2, and then we'll bring Gage back for round 3 to talk a little men's basketball. So we'll take a short break here, and we'll get everything set up for the next round. Join us for Corn Fed Live. Hello and welcome back to our second segment here of our Corn-Fed Sports live broadcast afternoon. This one was thrown together a little quicker, obviously, with the big recruiting news that dropped this afternoon, with Nebraska getting the comment from Chango Kamundo. The Nebraska coaches last night took to Twitter, were tweeting about explosions, about boom, and all sorts of different things that are supposed to come. And then HuskerOnline.com today actually revealed that it was Chango's commit today, that's what they were talking about. He's a 3-star offensive line prospect out of a community college, but he played tackle. He can move inside. He can play guard. He can play center. But not only that, but there have also been some murmurings and some whispers of some other possible late steals for Nebraska, some possible late signings for Nebraska. And so we reached out to you guys and wanted to hear some of the things that we wanted to hear from you. A lot of you pointed towards Coach, one of the Nebraska coaches who had a tweet that went tick, 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 and people were saying that some of the people out there were overlooking the fact that that a current Mizzou recruit earlier today, and let's get the exact time when it was, at 12:51 today, Demaria Mixon, who's a linebacker from Texas, defensive end, from Texas, who's already recruited to Mizzou, tweeted the same tick, tick, tick and hashtag Go Big Red. So he's already committed to Mizzou, but with sign day just around the corner, there's those last seconds, there's those last possibility to steal. There's some recruits always changing their mind, people who aren't necessarily sure about the decision they're about to make. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated on all those different things. But like I said, the point of this segment is this is one of our interactive. This is one of the things where we want to show you that we can hear from you guys and turn around in real time. So we're going to take a second to just go through some of the tweets that we have here from you guys and hearing from some of you. So we'll start with Sarah Simonson at Nothing Radiant, who earlier was active on some of our posts, and we asked her what she thought about this. And she said that I'm honestly always a nervous wreck this time of year. It's probably a little pathetic, but you got to have faith in the coaches. And I think that's one of the big things you've been seeing from all the responses we've gotten, from all the feedback we've gotten today, is faith in the coaches, that how exciting it is that you can turn to Twitter and not only hear something from a Nebraska coach, but get updates, get the hype going, feel that, the positive vibes coming from it, instead of just Twitter and some of those social media channels just being used by people speculating on coaches, talking about coaches, some of those little things. So we heard a lot of those similar kind of sentiments that, reaching out to the coaches, reaching out and saying, how much they're excited for the upcoming year. You can just look at all those different. At one point, Coach Rich Fisher tweeted 3, 2, 1 in the countdown, and you could just see the people on over and over just commenting what's going on. They wanted to know, they were engaged. You could see people just constantly tweeting about how this was ruining their afternoon, their productivity, and you could just kind of see that buzz spread across Facebook, across Twitter, across some of those things. So thanks for chiming in, Sarah. We agree with you right there. You got to have faith in the coaches this time of year. And our next tweet kind of goes into the same kind of thing. Jana at Jana Patrice tweeted, I'm a little bit of a Kool-Aid drinking sunshine pumper, so most of my opinions focus on praise from our commits and coaches. And we're right there with you. We think that the coaches and what you're hearing from the athletes, we'll listen to that more than just about anything else. That with these players, their quotes, their feedback is being beamed to all these thousands of kids, these prospective athletes out there, and that you get that kind of feedback and you hear that kind of buzz coming from a program, coming from the coaches about what they're confident they can accomplish. This class could swell up into the high 20s, 26, 27, 28, and hearing the coaches just have enthusiasm, and then hearing the athletes and the recruits who are coming in echoing that enthusiasm, echoing the fact that Terrell Newby is one of the incoming Husker running backs, is going to be representing the USA in the International Bowl in a high school game, and he mentioned being the only Husker there and how much he wants to represent Big Red Nation. I think we're right there with you, that all the feedback from the commits, the feedback from the coaches, the feedback not only from that, but seeing what the media is saying, seeing what some of the blogs and some of the people who are normally pretty critical, pretty realistic on a lot of levels, but at the same time are always focusing on the things that aren't going right. You see those are turning around today, and you see that whole kind of buzz in the last couple weeks has shifted. I think one of the big things from this, from the Chango commitment that you say, you got to see the feedback from the coaches, is that if you look at the feedback from the athlete himself, he said last week that he didn't actually commit to Tennessee. So there's reports out there that Chango had committed to Tennessee and was switching his commitment to come to Nebraska. But he did take an official visit the week before he came to Nebraska at Tennessee turns around, comes to Nebraska, and now there's news of the commitment today. So to see an athlete who can turn around, there can be reports he's going to Tennessee, he's going to the school that's not just an SEC rival, but that has the the graduate assistant. A lot of people have been comparing the Nebraska-Tennessee right now. So we're right there with you, Jana. We agree that if you look at what the coaches are saying, you look at the feedback from people around there, that that's what's most important in our eyes, and we agree with you. And we'll wrap it up with one that just kind of brings it all into perspective here. Those are a couple more focused ones. But we'll get to the Husk guys, at Husk guys. Said probably one of the better classes of names in a while with Chongo Bose and crew. Great hustle by coaches. And that's exactly what this is all about. It's about hustle. It's about energy. It's about seeing that buzz, seeing where Nebraska is at nationally, and seeing some of the things that some of the guys who have left the program lately, seeing the lingering effects of that kind of stuff. To see something like this happen in the wakes of it, with signing day right around the corner, and to have a big time recruit like this, have somebody create some buzz, have some people on campus, have some people in town who are right there along with them. There's been some other Twitter action of recruits that are in Lincoln that are here for a visit, that are expected to make a decision in the coming days. So we'll see how much this buzz can carry on. But thanks to Husk guys, thanks to Jana, and thanks to Sarah for chiming in. Like I said, this is our first test run of our live interaction segment. We'll bring up some graphics next time. We'll have some more finished product. But for our first Corn-Fed Live show, hashtag CFS Live, that's what we're using. So stay tuned in the coming weeks and coming days. We'll have more opportunities for you guys to chime in. So thanks for taking in our first segment. We'll get back to our usual programming in our third segment with some breakdowns of Nebraska men's and women's basketball and Husker wrestling.
All right, welcome back to Corn-Fed Sports and our third segment of the day, and we're going to break down some men's and women's basketball and some wrestling, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Pat, for some women's basketball. After following the victory last night, we're looking pretty good going to the end of the season.
Definitely, and I think that not only the 3 wins is big, turning it around, not only getting the wins, but winning the games you're supposed to win, winning by some of the margins and getting some of the leads that you're supposed to have. But I think what's been impressive is that Nebraska hasn't just done it by Jordan Hooper and Lindsey Moore better than your 2 best players. They're doing it in some of those ways that might come back to bite you, that they've been battling injuries, so they've had role players in and out and moving in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
But they've had role players contributing in different ways and stepping up. And when Rachel Terrio goes on the road for some reason, she just goes nuts and starts knocking down shots and playing out of her mind, especially when she gets anywhere close to her home state of Ohio. And then they get back home.
Being a freshman, too.
Yeah, definitely. And they get home and they have players contribute on the offensive rebounds. Players score. Katie Simon comes off the bench and scores and gets fouled right away.
What he brings to defensive brings defensively pressuring the ball too.
Definitely, because you
Yep.
can not only look at the points that she creates with what she does, but the points that the other teams can't get because they're taking 10 seconds to get down the court, the possessions that they're cutting out of the games. So Nebraska's really been able to capitalize on those little things. And one stat that I want to point out that kind of talks about the little things, that it's not a huge stat, but it was pointed out by the wonderful women's basketball SID Jeff Greesh, who he kind of gave the same explanation with it, that Nebraska in a win last weekend didn't give up any transition points, that they won the transition points 6-0, and that doesn't seem like a big deal, and that was the tightly contested game with Michigan State.
Yeah.
But it was a 5-6 point game right in that area, and the fact they didn't have any transition points means they didn't get out and get any easy baskets, that they were so concerned on getting good looks on the offensive end, on trying to stay with Nebraska, that they weren't able to get out into the open court, and a lot of teams have had problems doing that.
I think, sorry to jump in on you, but I think that's what Coach Yori, she emphasizes a lot of defensive just intensity and pressure, because if you have great defense, that can lead to offense. And when you have the offensive weapons like Jordan Hooper and Emily Cady,
definitely, and not only just defense and keeping him out, but defense in not giving him those, an easy layup for a shooter, for a scorer, can be something that can just launch him. And Nebraska doesn't give up those points. They don't give up easy baskets. They're back contesting. They're not going to just let you have an easy. They're going to try and take a charge. Whether it's a late block, they're not just going to give you a clean look at the basket and just live to fight on their possession. That they're going to make you fight for every single point. And if you're not able to score in transition, if you're not able to get past their press, and you have to take 10 seconds to get the ball up the court every single time, you're just not going to have a lot of offensive success. And the other thing I want to bring up is that Lindsey Moore has been chasing, moving up the career assist records all year, and they've been putting spotlights on that.
Yeah.
But no one's really been talking about lately how her assist numbers are going up, and her turnover numbers are starting to get lower where they're supposed to be.
Getting into
and
the
not
flow
only
of the
that,
season.
but in the game earlier this year, Lindsey Moore and Rachel Terrio combined for 39 points and 15 assists. And I believe they had just 2 turnovers. So 2 guards, they run what they call a no-point guard system. The whole year they've been talking about this is what they're trying to do. They don't want the ball in one person's hand. They want to spread the court. They want Jordan Hooper at the ball at the top post. They want Emily Cady at the ball and getting the ball swung to Rachel Terrio so she can spot up shoot or use a head fake and do a dribble drive and do some of those little things. Haley Sample catches the ball and is attacking the rim. So all those little things at times it's struggled. At times there's been an offensive slowdown. At times you lose games where Jordan Hooper doesn't score a point and Haley Sample's your leading scorer.
Right.
But that's what you're building towards, is this at the end of the year.
And you can't expect Hooper to bring, 25, 30 points a game in the Big Ten. Like you look at the men's and you look at the women's, this is one of the best basketball conferences in the country. And to bring your A game every weekend, if you're bringing your A game every week in the Big Ten, you're likely going to be a top 5, 10 team in the country. And
definitely. Well, we'll transition right into men's. We already had Ohio State for Nebraska talk for women's. So now, what are some of the things you're looking at in tomorrow's matchup for Ohio State and Nebraska?
Well, you look at the first meeting and it was 70-44. It's a loss at Columbus. It was our opening Big Ten game. Tim Miles opens his career at Nebraska in the Big Ten at Ohio State. Not a good thing when you're mixing around your lineup at that time, dealing with injuries. What we need to do, though, tomorrow night, I think, is we have to somehow stop Deshaun Thomas. Deshaun Thomas, for you guys who don't know, he's their star. He's a power forward, small forward kind of combo. He plays power forward more right now in college, but when he goes to the NBA, he's likely going to be a small forward type guard. He averages just over 20 points a game with about 6 rebounds a game. He's the whole package. He shoots threes, he can drive, dunk, rebound. He's the whole package. And
definitely.
With their guard, Aaron Craft, they have a sweet pick-and-roll game. Aaron Craft is a 3-point specialist point guard, gets the ball around, especially gives it to Deshaun.
And you can see not just the effects of having him on the offensive end, but having someone like Craft, who's an energy guy, who last night on BTN they're talking about him diving all over the place and going into the crowd and different things like that.
It seems like he's been there for about 15 years.
Definitely, but that energy, I think, is what allows him to go out there and focus on doing the game-changing plays, that he knows he has somebody to bring the energy, to bring the passion. So Nebraska, the task for Nebraska is not only going to be to keep your defense focused on stopping Thomas, but to match that energy, to match that kind of commitment to the simple things.
Yeah.
Because when Nebraska starts slipping, especially in the men's side of the year, that you see that's where it starts going is simple things, and that after the game there's no mystery as to what went wrong.
Right.
Those press conferences are brutal at times, but it's because they all know what happened, and if they had a fix for it, they'd fix it. But I think the one encouraging thing that we see here is that after some issues with playing on the road, playing at home, that last week they're able to come out against a good Northwestern team, use the home crowd, play like you're supposed to at home. So as Husker fans look, and they're looking for that Nebraska ball upset this year, and they want to know which game is going to be the storm or the court stormer, and, they're looking towards those kind of
quote
things.
Quote
unquote. Playing good at home against a team you should beat is the first step towards doing something like that.
And if you go back, we played tough a lot of times this year in a close loss to, say a Michigan or a Michigan State on the road. We get them back home, and I think one of the key things for us to play good tomorrow is that we have to start out strong, get the crowd into it, and just be intense. Coach Miles was talking about today in the press conference. He was saying how sometimes he doesn't know if the players don't know what they're supposed to do, or if they don't want to do what they're supposed to do. And I think if we just start out strong, and get the crowd into it.
And knowing what they're trying to do. And knowing a player like David Rivers, a player like Sharon Shields, when they get into the rhythm and they find the flow of the game early, not many people can stay with them with their athleticism and they're undersized. Undersized in athletics doesn't mean what it used to, because strength and vertical jump
and Ohio
those
State isn't necessarily a lot taller than us. They got a lot of guys that are like anywhere from 6'4" to 6'8", and they're not. We don't give up the height on them, but they are a lot more athletic, and they have a lot more depth, and they're a little bit more experienced.
And the one thing I'll point to here, talking about that same thing, finding rhythm early on, is last game with Sharon Shields, foul trouble got him out of rhythm
especially
early.
with a young player like that.
And especially with an athletic team like Ohio State, and trying to defense and trying not to stretch yourself too much, staying away from getting some cheap fouls early on will be key.
I think, staying away from the fouls by slowing the game down. Slow the game down and play strong defense. And, just like we did at Michigan or at Michigan State, we slowed the ball down, and that helps us hang with them. And I think that's one of the keys tomorrow. And hopefully Ray can come out and, before the first media timeout, knock down open three. That'll get the crowd into it. And, you just got to grind from there on out.
Definitely. Well, we're quickly nearing our half-hour mark that we're trying to shoot for our show. So we'll wrap it up with some Nebraska wrestling here. We'll just jump right in. It's the final athletic event, or counting NCAA athletic event that's scheduled to happen at the Nebraska Coliseum. There's been a lot of hype made in local media outlets. Jordan Burroughs has tweeted a YouTube video this afternoon. People have been talking.
Stephen M. Sipple from the Journal-Star had a great article about it.
Definitely.
Today.
And so, not only volleyball and wrestling, but all the other things that, and all the meanings that it's had for NCAA events and high school wrestling meets, and just it's kind of been an icon for a lot of people in the community. So not only is this the last meet in the Coliseum, but it's really their only chance to work on things. And what I mean by that is they're taking on a Michigan State team that's number 38 in the latest Intermat rankings. Yeah. From here, they go to Iowa. From there, they go to the national duels. Then from there, they go to the Big Ten tournament leading into the NCAAs. So at this point, I think the biggest thing tonight, it's not just guys like Jake Souflon and Robert Kokesh and James and those guys who are in the top 10, in the top 5, who are looking for All-Americans. It's guys at some of the different weight classes, and the Ridge Kileys, the Caleb Kolbs, those guys who have shown they can compete with anybody. Now they just need to flip that switch, pull an upset. And I think if you're going to see Nebraska move on and do something surprising at the national duels, do something and get a large number of qualifiers, that you're going to need, it's going to start now. And that getting those last couple wins and winning your last 3 matches or little things like that are big towards getting one of those weight. And the Big Ten is going to be allocated a lot of spots at all the different weight classes.
Yeah.
So if you can beat Big Ten competition, if you can know that you're going to beat your first round opponent in the tournament and wrestlebacks and those little things, that's a big thing for going towards the end of the year for seeding. So tonight, 7 p.m. at the Coliseum, Nebraska wrestling. There's also women's gymnastics at 6 p.m.
There's also track and field.
There's also track. That's
5.
the multi-event started at 11:30 today. The other stuff starts at 5, and we got that going on tomorrow. We previewed that a little bit in yesterday's show, so that's why we didn't shine light on it.
There's a full
slate of things going on. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, multiple events, multiple venues.
Get out there and cheer for the Husker basketball team tomorrow.
Remember to follow too as well at Cornfed Live. We'll be tweeting. We'll be giving you live tweets from everything going on in Lincoln this weekend, as well as updates from at Real Skurs and at Cornfed Sports from all the different sports as events go final, as we get into scores and updates and all that stuff. So remember to stay tuned. For this last segment, we're going to do something a little quirky. We're going to expand our camera shot a little bit here, but this is specifically Gage is rocking the Nebraska volleyball shirt, and this part's for Paige Hubble. Paige, earlier we told you that we need some volleyball players on our wall, and you say you didn't know what our Corn-Fed Faces wall is. So I'll expand this out here a little bit and bring in the full shot. But as you can see, here's our Corn-Fed Faces wall. We got some people, you can't necessarily see all of them. We got a couple more that are being printed. We're adding some more gymnasts. Yep. We're adding Jake Suflon. We got our first wrestler. But Paige, if you want to come in, if you want to get your mug on the wall, it's out there.
And sign autograph.
Any of the other, yep. We need a volleyball player on our wall. So we're looking to expand the Corn-Fed wall. If you think that you deserve to be on the Corn-Fed wall, just let us know. It's our own little PTI thing going on here. So that explains our backdrop, and that luckily brings us to an end of our show. So you don't have to deal with us anymore in trying to run through our first test run here. But we'll be starting our full slate Monday morning, 10 a.m., and then starting next Fridays, it'll be a 2:30 in the afternoon show.
Tune in for a good time.
4 days a week for Corn-Fed Sports in the morning, 1 day a week for Corn-Fed Live, and we'll try and get guests, and we'll try and get as many people in our office as we can. For Corn-Fed Sports, I'm Pat Radigan.
I'm Gage Peak.
Thanks for joining us.